MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome to the Big Small Business Show, the show for all our entrepreneurs out there. Now, last week, we had Judy Klipin in studio with us. We were talking about burnout, and burnout is a big factor in what prevents entrepreneurs succeed, because often they get into a burnout state and they don't actually get out of it for long enough for their business to suffer and sometimes collapse. So burnout is an important topic for entrepreneurs, and Judy is a specialist in the subject, and she's written a couple of books. She's an author, and she specializes in making work for you. Now, last week, if you watched last week's episode, we dealt very much with what is burnout and some of the things you can do to restore yourself from being burnt out. Including sleep, food, drink, exercise, things like that. So first of all, thank you for coming back on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And today I want to talk about the psychological side of burnout, because you see entrepreneurs in a situation, and I don't want to diminish this because I think there's a reality here. I just actually been working with an entrepreneur who I've invested in, and I think just based on how you've described it, he's got burnout. But his reality is that if he doesn't carry on working, he's not going to put food on the table. He's not going to eat.
Sure.
So he doesn't feel like he's got an option.
Yeah.
So the option is just, I will deal with that later. Right now, I'm in survival mode, not just so from a financial perspective.
Sure.
So I don't have the ability to even think about the physical side, even if it puts me in the grave.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just deal with that, like real conflict or the friction between our physical health, not just our mental health, but our reality that we have to put food on the table.
So it's a huge issue. It really is. And I think that, often people say to me, burnout is a luxury. And, I completely get what they're saying, because it is a luxury to be able to take however much time off you need and to, go to the fruit shop and stock up on fresh fruit and veg and all the rest of it. However, I believe, and I see this every day, that burnout is a sustainability issue. If we don't take serious steps to prevent or to recover from burnout, our businesses are not sustainable. Whether it's a one-person business or a 600,000-person business. If we have got burnout, it is affecting the sustainability of our organization. So while in the short term, it's absolutely urgent and important that you keep pushing and keep doing things, it's in the long term, you're not going to be able to be doing all of these things, because you're going to be literally incapacitated. And that is something that I really think we need to take very seriously, because there are little early warning signs for burnout, and if we ignore them and we push through, they get worse. That irritability that I spoke about, it becomes anger. The sadness and the worry becomes depression and anxiety. And those are not things that we can just push our way through. Those are things that really, really need urgent attention. And so I absolutely understand it. I mean, I work for myself as well. I completely get the tension of needing to make money versus needing to look after yourself and take a break. But I can tell you that if we aren't taking care of ourselves, then the money is not going to happen, because we're not going to be in any fit state to be making the money. So slowly and surely, and with compassion, we need to see where we can start making savings in our energy, where we can be wasting less of our energy. So to be really brutally honest, where am I getting a good return on my investment? What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to say no to? Where can I ask for help?
Okay, let's touch on some of those. You're giving me nice clues there where to go next. So let's go for the help. It could be family, friends, etc. What am I, when I say help, what am I asking for from my wife, or what am I asking
Yeah.
for my husband or my children or my uncle? Like, what am I asking for?
So I think there are various aspects of life that we can ask for help with. There's life. So just help with, please help me to step away from my computer at 6 o'clock and let me not pick it up again until the morning. So you need to come and say to me, it's time to close it. That is a very powerful way of asking for help. Asking people for help to get to bed quickly, asking people for help to not let me have 3 bars of chocolate in one night, those kinds of things. And then they're also asking for help, going to a coach, going to a therapist, asking for feedback, asking a colleague or a peer to say, can we just sit down? There's something I'm stuck with. Can I just run this by you and you give me some input? There's so many ways and sources that we can ask for help, but we don't think about it because when we're in this kind of tunnel vision of the anxiety of the burnout and we're not doing as well as we want to be doing or think we should be doing, that we don't take a step back and sit back and think, okay, let's just, look at this a bit more broadly and see, what do I need here?
Can I relate this? We've got 2 minutes before we take a break. Can I relate this to delegation in a sense? Because what I see with entrepreneurs that battle to delegate for control issues, that they are more susceptible to that burnout in whatever form it is than the ones that are more able to.
Absolutely.
Just elaborate.
So I think people who struggle to delegate feel, for whatever reason, maybe based on actual experience or just fear, that they will do the job better. And it's actually much quicker and easier for them to do the job than sitting down and asking somebody else to do it. And then they get disappointed because the other person doesn't do it the way they would have done it. And the problem with that is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the less responsibility you give to people, the less responsibility they're going to be able to execute. And sure, delegation takes a bit of time to get right front. You can't just say, I can't just say to you, Allon, I want you to write an article on burnout and expect you to come back and give me an article that I want. I need to sit down with you and I need to say, these are the points I want you to cover. This is where you can go and find the information. I want it to be this many words. When you've done a first draft, come and bring it to me and I'll, it's a process of training people up to be able to delegate to them in a way that I can say, do this. And that, I think, is what people, particularly people who are entrepreneurs, don't understand, because they are so self-motivated and so self-driven that they think everybody else knows what's going on in their heads, and they just don't. And then they get disappointed and think, well, it's just easier to do it myself.
Yeah.
And it's a really vicious circle.
We're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Judy Klipin, and we're talking about actually the psychological side of burnout. Stay tuned.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.